by alone inside. He's got the breakaway with the touch to the right. Goal! Everything you wanted from this debut. It's Brandon by taking a shot with the left. Goal! Isaac Friend from 25 yards out. The equalizer. Will Kidd with the touch of the goal. It's a go-ahead goal. Minneapolis City.
This is the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City Soccer Club, brought to you by Summit Brewing Company.
This is the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City Soccer Club. Hello, friends. I'm your host, John, and joining me, as always, is the man, the myth, the legend, the Nate Morales. Nate, happy belated birthday, pal. Did you have a good special day?
No, getting old is dumb. It sucks. I hate it. And any other year, Sunday's weather was perfect. It would have been a perfect day to get out and do stuff. But instead, it was only once I decided to emerge from my bunker to go to Sea Salt for dinner. Then all I got for my birthday was like an anxiety attack, just like a 100% battle with anxiety. Like Corona super sucks on nice days now that it's summertime because everything is busy, people want to get out, and It's not just like the scarcity of a patio table that you're fighting for. It's like you're fighting against people who just have no regard for their own life or the lives of others. They've just got like the balls to risk their life to go to the record store on a normal day.
Dude, so everybody wants that crawfish po' boy from.
So you're going to lose out to them. They're going to stare you down, and I'm going to buckle because I'm not going to want to get COVID. So it's like, anyway. I tried, but it wasn't fun. Just not for me. Going out, not for me anymore, John.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, once the Rona subsides, I'll take you out for your belated birthday.
Thanks.
Shenanigans.
Speaking of people with balls, this week's show is 100% about the Futures program, a model so ballsy, only Minneapolis City could be the one to roll it out. So we're going to welcome into the Summit Social Distancing Studio the head coach and the mastermind behind the Minneapolis City Futures program, Jeremiah Johnson. That's all we got tonight.
That's all
ball to ball futures.
Yeah, back to the futures, I believe is what we're calling this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So about 2 years ago, an item popped up in front of the city members on the voting ballot that felt like the next step after launching the U23 program. I'm, of course, talking about the creation of the U19 setup. The idea was unanimously approved by the members, but was shelved until the club could kind of get all their ducks in a row. They needed to get the U20. We needed to get the U23s right first. You know, after having that go for a year, you don't want to start something new right on the heels of that. And now those ducks are set, Nate, and they are ready to leave the pond. So we are pleased today to talk about the newly launched Minneapolis City Futures program with its leader and visionary, Jeremiah Johnson. Jeremiah, welcome to the show. How you doing, pal?
Great. Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it. I listen to you guys all the time. This is awesome.
For some reason.
Yeah. For some stupid reason, you listen to us talk a whole bunch of garbage. Typically, you mentioned it, and you're well aware of, you're an avid listener to the show. We ask our guests to introduce themselves to our listeners. Tell us about yourself, your soccer journey, and how you got brought into the fold with Minneapolis City.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks for asking, number one. So it's kind of a long journey, and it starts in Minnesota. So my soccer journey started when I was very young, playing for the Rosemount Athletic Association. Showed some promise there, ended up moving on and joining the Olympic Development Program at about age 11, and then ended up hooking up with a club called Bangu FC. So they had started a U19 program and then wanted to kind of expand a little bit. So we were the first really ever kind of select team in the state of Minnesota at the age of U14. Played for Bangu FC for a period of years, won several state cups as a youngster, and then played at Rosemount High School, ended up getting a full scholarship to play Division I soccer at a school down south called Mercer University. Played there for a couple of years. Ended up getting hurt pretty bad, and then had to take a year or two off, and then transferred to University of Wisconsin Eau Claire, where I played club soccer.
Yeah, Blue Golds, baby.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Nobody knows what a blue gold is, but yeah.
No,
so
I don't think it's anything.
I think it's an eagle.
Yeah,
or
that's
some
where I
kind of
went to. That's
bird.
funny.
Oh, you went there as well?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Wow, wonderful.
Small
so,
world we created here.
Yeah, it's one big sewing circle. So while I was at Wisconsin Eau Claire, got kind of healthy. Continued playing there. Ended up being the president of the club, taking over those reins, and then even after that, that's kind of where my coaching journey started. And I coached the squad at University of Wisconsin Eau Claire. During that same period, I got into high school coaching a little bit. Coached at Rosemount High School, and then took some time off. Didn't really want to have anything to do with soccer.
Been there.
Kind of bitter because of the injury. I had high hopes, but I got the itch to coach a little bit, and then after starting a few different businesses and selling one off, and then after my second child was born, I got into coaching at Lakeville North High School on the boys' side. Coached there for a couple of years, and then took over the girls program as a head coach, and we had a lot of success on that side. Made it to the state tournament every single year. 3 of those years we were knocked out in shootouts, and then took a year off, went back, coached with the boys program, coached with several different clubs. And then during that time where I took a year off, I was like, okay, well, what's my next challenge? What do I want to do next? And I've been really interested in lower level soccer, minor league soccer.
Mm-hmm.
When Minneapolis City, when they started forming the idea, I'd followed Stegman's a little bit, and I ended up joining and putting my money where my mouth was, and I joined as a founding member of Minneapolis City Soccer Club. And then fast forward a couple years after that, there was the U19 vote that was put out, and I'd always wondered, how can I get engaged with the club? And at that point, there was a little bit of bouncing around between like Augsburg as a home base and Osseo, and Osceo's way too far from Lakeville to legitimize that to the family at home. So finally, when the email to the U19 program came out, I responded back with an emphatic yes, this is a great idea, and if it ends up coming to fruition, I would be really interested in being a part of it in some way. And that's where the conversations with Minneapolis City started. And about a year or so
they took you up on your cold call, basically.
Yeah, I pestered Adam Pribble for a while, and finally we sat down and we had coffee, and then he's like, you know what, this is awesome. We think alike. And Minneapolis City is a group of like-minded people. And then I sat down with Coach Matt, and it was the same thing. We hit it off. We had a great conversation, and then they brought me on as an assistant, kind of just to learn and really research what was going on with the program, what was going on with the first team and Minneapolis City too. And through that whole process,
sure.
They said, you know what, why don't you come on as an assistant coach for the MPSL squad? And so that was the intent, coming in onto the MPSL squad as an assistant coach. And then, we're getting ready for the US Open Cup, and then COVID happens. So we've done all this preparation. And in parallel, we've been doing a lot of stuff back and forth on what do we want this U19 program to look like, picking the brain of the leadership, looking back on, what was communicated to the members in terms of what they voted on. And, during that period, we're like, okay, well, now that we're not playing, let's kind of really, really focus on this. And that's where the future stuff really started to take off.
And the rest is history, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, honestly, it was one night. I just kind of woke up in the middle of the night and I just started jotting down notes. I'm like,
like Doc Brown. Like you slipped and hit your head in the sink.
Yes, the flux capacitor just took off, and I started taking notes and pretty much bunkered myself for 4 days, which wasn't hard in the middle of a pandemic, and just started taking notes and putting together this presentation that I wanted to show Adam. And then after 4 days, showed it to him, and he's like, it was like a 2 and full financial model, everything. And he's like, this is awesome. We need to talk to Dan. And from there, it just kind of took off.
So you already dove into it a little bit, but we'll get you warmed up before we talk futures here. So a lot of talk lately, and even just for years, but more so lately, around the fact that youth soccer in America is in fact broken. Before we get into the city efforts, do you feel that it's broken? And if so, why? And is there a fix, or are we in just kind of perma Band-Aid mode for youth soccer?
Well, wow, this is a huge rabbit hole you could go down.
That's why we ask the hard-hitting questions, JJ.
It's absolutely broken. It's broken at the youth level. It's broken at the college level. It's broken at the professional level. And it starts with our federation. They have not set up a structure for the game to thrive in this country. And so when we don't have promotion and relegation, and we don't have a true pyramid, right now we just have a bunch of silos. We don't have promotion and relegation like the rest of the world does. That has an effect on youth soccer. There's a trickle down effect to that. When we don't use the same incentive or the FIFA mechanisms for solidarity and training compensation, that affects youth soccer. That is why pay to play exists for the most part, is because we aren't compensating clubs to develop players for their first team. We aren't compensating clubs for developing players that get transferred to a professional league, either domestically or internationally. And those clubs aren't realizing any kind of financial benefit to keep their clubs moving forward and making it cost effective for the next generation that's coming up. So in that sense, it's extremely broken. I don't have the full answers for you, but the first step is getting some people into the federation that are soccer people that get it. We don't need any more business people. We don't need more people from Goldman Sachs running the soccer federation. We need people that care about the game first, and the finances second, to create the structure that's going to make this game thrive. And we can do things at the international stage. There's no reason that the richest country on the face of the earth cannot get this right.
It feels like there've been in the past a couple of appointments, a couple of guys that have been brought in where you're thinking like, oh, here we go. Now we're getting started. We're prioritizing the right kind of talent, prioritizing the right kind of brains. And it feels like they always get overruled or drowned out by the machine that is Soccer United Marketing or whoever else is making decisions. The problem then becomes it's 100% at the top, right? Like who can make these decisions and affect change unless somehow you have a complete change of power.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the presidential level, it's at the CEO level, and we've had some turnover in both those positions. But right now, it's just we're spinning our wheels. We're getting the same people in there, and it's happening by design. The leaders that be have essentially hijacked the way that people get voted into those positions, whether that's manipulating the athletes council or determining the number of votes based on attendance figures for MLS, which are always doctored. There's so many different subtle ways that they've been able to.
It's always a sellout,
rules.
Jeremiah. Every week, a sellout.
Oh yeah, a sellout. Tickets distributed. That's the metric.
So I mean, as in all revolutions, it feels like the change is going to have to come at the grassroots level, and you have outlined 4 institutional problems that Minneapolis City can help solve with our Futures program, with this U19 program. We're talking youth clubs not being invested in their players past high school, the high cost of elite level soccer, which is obviously a problem for diversity of all kinds. The travel commitment and aware that it takes to play at the elite level, also a diversity issue. And then, of course, the awareness of Minneapolis City. All four of those things can be seen as problems to solve that you have stated that the Futures program could help with. Is there one that you really set out to solve first, and then discovered like, hey, I'm kind of onto something, and this thing could kill a few birds with one stone, or was it all like a calculated move to knock out this whole roster of issues?
Well, yes. So roadmap would be the first issue that we were trying to solve, as a club, because John will even tell you, Dan will even tell you that, I mean, there's so much talent in the Twin Cities, and there's not enough space at a club like Minneapolis City to keep those guys going.
Mm-hmm.
And we needed to create a roadmap from those kids that are coming from from high school or higher age level club soccer,
Yeah.
or even beyond there in college soccer, and how are they going to be able to continue to play and get to the next level. Personal experience, I was one of those guys when I was coming back from college, especially that first year. I was 17 years old when I got on a college campus and preseason at a Division I program, and I was playing at a very, very high level. And then I came back from Georgia, and my club had already started. There wasn't a place for me, and I ended up hooking up with like a community club that it was just a terrible, terrible experience. And I felt like I took a half a step backwards. Continuing to push these guys and giving them a roadmap to push forward and give them a path to something that might not have been there in the past or felt unattainable, whether that was jumping immediately to MLS or jumping to something overseas. There's an intermediary level there that we're trying to fill a gap on. So that first problem, roadmap, and then you mentioned a couple other ones.
Everything else you kind of discovered along the way as you're thinking, well, this also solves a travel issue, and this also solves a money issue, because we can do this for cheap if we do it right. And one way to sell it to Minneapolis City is talk to them about the awareness problem.
Yes, absolutely. And we were just talking about, is U.S. soccer broken? And this turned into a passion project for me. How can we help fix it? And we do coaches calls on the weekends with other calls in the Twin Cities, other coaches in the Twin Cities. We do coaches calls with Minneapolis City, and that's always one of the topics is, can we create a template? Can we pilot a project that works for us, and then prove the model and let other people use it? So if we can prove this model for the Futures, this is something that could be blown up and used in every market across the United States to build a better soccer product.
Sure. So you to, I guess, for people that weren't on the members call or maybe haven't quite gotten the details yet, let's give us a high level. What is the Futures program? What's the age range that we're looking at here, and how would an average week in the program play out for a kid?
Okay, sure. So the Futures program is an intra-club, ultra-competitive league and training model. So there's three primary components to it. First is Futures training. So we're going to be taking in the top 40 to 50 players in the Twin Cities market and bringing them in and doing pool training with those players. And part of that pool training focus is going to be on implementing the playing principles and the playing style, and some of the other pieces that have been put in place with the first two teams. So it's kind of a seamless transition from Futures level to moving forward. So we're going to do that in the Futures training component.
Bring the kids up through the system.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a seamless transition. They know exactly what they're getting into, and the coaches for the first two teams have an opportunity to take a peek at these players and go, okay, this player may meet the requirements from a technical perspective, from a tactical perspective, from a physical perspective, but do they meet it from a psychosocial perspective? Do they fit? Do they fit what this club's all about? Do they fit within the brotherhood? So, getting a look at them in that way in the training component. The other component of the Futures program is the Futures League, which I'm super excited about. So, in order to make it cost effective and fit in with a bunch of other different variables, we've set up a Futures League that's going to start off with 4 teams.
Mm-hmm.
And this Futures League is a 7v7 intra-club league. And so we're going to be playing side by side 7v7 games. And each one of these teams is going to be representing a Minneapolis neighborhood. So when the concept was first put together and thrown out there, I was like, okay, we could have each one of these teams represent a Minneapolis neighborhood, or we could potentially just use this, have them represent a sponsor. And Dan Hudeman looked at that idea and he's like, oh, they're going to represent Minneapolis neighborhoods and we're going to take this far. And I think people are starting to see that a little bit on Twitter with the way that Minneapolis City does their creativity and their branding.
Yep.
There's the Futures League, 7v7 league. Those top 40, 50 players into 4 different teams. League from, I think, March until the end of June. Going to be keeping records. We'll have rosters and stats on the website. We'll have end of season awards. We'll have a golden boot winner, top goalkeeper, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's going to be super,
Nice.
super fun. The third component is what kind of is the incentive, is the carrot for the players to participate in the training piece and the league piece. And that's the Futures Friendlies. So top 40 or 50 participate in the Futures training and the Futures League. Of those top 40 or 50, we're going to take out 18 to 20 of those players that show promise, that fit the Minneapolis City overall system and philosophy. And we're going to pull them into kind of a first team, if you will,
Sure.
for the Futures. And we're going to play against external competition. And that external competition could potentially be other area NPSL, UPSL clubs. We might have the opportunity to play against college level teams, other teams within the region, other like-minded clubs, and put them out there in a competitive exhibition type format, 4 to 5 to 6 times.
But in
a
general,
year.
probably higher level than
so-
most kids there that age are used to going up against.
Yeah, and that piece is, players at this level, if you're the top 40, 50 players in the Twin Cities, you need to be playing against men. You don't need to be playing against people who are 15, 16, or not 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You need to be playing against men. And that goes back to a personal experience I had as well. When I was 14, 15 years old, I was playing in the MASL against men. And my playing ability, it went up drastically. It had to. You had no choice. And I think Minneapolis City has kind of proven that model a little bit, and John can speak to that more than I can, on some of the youngsters that have come through even year one of Minneapolis City and gone on to do great things. They came in as teenagers, and they're leaving out as men. Right. So those are the 3 components: the Futures training, the Futures League, and then the Futures Friendlies.
Nice. So like when you talk about 7v7 in the Futures training or Futures League, you in our members call, you talked about it being the most fun you ever had playing soccer. Is there another component or another aspect of 7v7 that is beneficial in your mind to a training environment beyond just, hey, it's fun, it's casual, everyone can kick around and have a good time?
Yes, I mean it's awesome. So once again, I'll go back to a personal experience I had. Spring season in college, and this is way back when. I don't even know if they're doing it now. I think it's more 11v11 type stuff. But we used to play 7v7 format, and we would go to other colleges and play 7v7 tournaments on the weekend, and it was awesome. It was so much fun. the number of touches that a player can get in a 7v7 format is obviously much more than they can in an 11v11 format. And the speed is so much faster. So it's just, you take the 11v11 game and you compress it, and you can get the same out of a 7v7 game. Also in a 7v7 format, you can look at the same player roles and positional responsibilities that you can in an 11v11 game. So you can look at your two center backs in a 7v7 game. You can look at your holding midfielder. You can look at that one striker. And then the two players who generally play out wide, those essentially mimic the same roles that you have in your outside backs or even your wingers. So you can get the same looks as a coaching staff in a 7v7 format that you could out of an 11v11 format.
I never thought about that.
If you do it right.
Huh. So the question here then, Jeremiah, is who are these kids that you're going to be going after in order to fill this program, both short-term and long-term? Obviously, the kids year one are going to be a lot of, hey, who can we get? Who can we recruit based on limited word of mouth? But eventually, as you build this program, who's your dream roster made out of?
So the dream roster is made up of kids who wouldn't normally have the opportunity.
Yeah.
Whether that be for financial reasons or geographic reasons potentially, just they aren't given the opportunity to succeed. So, who's this program support? It's going to support the kid that needs an accelerated environment that's going to prepare them for college soccer. Some of these kids may have aged out of the Olympic development program. Like I just mentioned, it might be a kid that can't afford or they can no longer justify the cost to play high level competitive youth soccer, those costs can be, astronomical. They can't, justify the time commitment to travel nationally at this particular age group. These kids are starting to have jobs. They have other social commitments, whether those are girlfriends or other things that are going on, and they just don't want to be traveling all over the country. And we don't want to have them make that choice, right? So you can still play soccer and you can still have a life. You can still make magical memories through soccer. And those are the kids that those are my dream kids to have in the program. Obviously there's going to be those kids that, have been identified already and they want to be part of Minneapolis City because they're just good. But I want to find those kids of the diamond in the rough, whether those are ethnic kids or other kids who are just, financially on the other end of the spectrum. I want to find those kids. And that goes back to me personally. I couldn't have played club soccer at the level that these kids are playing now because my family just could have not afforded it. And I was a kid who went and played Division I soccer on full scholarship. But I would not have been able to afford, $6,000 to $10,000 a year to play elite league or development academy soccer. It just wouldn't have happened. Soccer wasn't going to be a priority for my family at that level. And I know there are other kids out there that are the same way, and we shouldn't be shutting doors on those kids.
Personal story that kind of aligns with this is when my stepson left. We moved to Minneapolis, and St. Croix turned out to be kind of a drive, but that's where he'd been playing because he used to live in Woodbury. We joined Joy of the People, and he started playing with in the Revolution League, right? On this Joy team, and it opened my eyes to this entire world of teams and players and a community that, there are in Minneapolis, I'm sure hundreds of. There are hundreds of Latino players that are playing organized sports, just at not the $4,000 a year level. There are hundreds of Karen players who are playing that are winning futsal tournaments that are organized out in St. Paul. African teams organizing around Riverside that are out there playing as much as they can. So I guess my question is, what kind of work is going to be put into, or is currently being put into, connecting with some of these communities that aren't as high profile, that aren't as visible on the soccer scene, but are just as skilled? These Karen kids have ballers, right? How do you connect with them, and how do you recruit kids from all walks of life?
Sure. So on the Minneapolis City side, so that's already in motion. There's a gentleman that joined the club. His name's Brendan Doyle, and he has been doing a phenomenal job of reaching out to organizations that I didn't even know existed, and creating partnerships with them, mutually beneficial partnerships between Minneapolis City and these clubs, not only to create awareness for Minneapolis City, but let them know that there is a path for some of their players to move into the club. And I've seen Brendan's spreadsheet, and it's impressive. I think he's got 100 different organizations that he's actively reaching out to and working with, and the Karen FA is one of them. So that's one angle. On another angle, we are working on, and I think it's probably going to go out this week. We are reaching out to quote unquote soccer influencers throughout the entire 7-county metro area. Whether those be directors of coaching at your traditional youth clubs, reaching out to some of these more ethnic organizations that have a soccer component to them, as well as every single high school coach in the metro area, and and as well as the college coaches in the area. And we're going to be bringing them in, inviting them to a webinar to talk about the Futures program, giving them an opportunity to ask us questions, stump us, ask us some difficult questions, but to create awareness for the program and let them know that there is an opportunity if they have a player who they think is a good fit for Minneapolis City for some of the reasons that we've mentioned, to pull them in and make them aware of the trials that we're going to be having in November and even beyond for future years, and giving those kids an opportunity to show what they've got. And we've already got kids that are filling out the player interest form that we've published on the website. We haven't really promoted it very much, but we've got some kids that are filling that out, and the responses are really cool to read. There are, we ask a couple different questions on there. Number one is, how did you hear about us? A lot of it's Twitter. But the other ones are, why do you want to join Minneapolis City? And we get some really, really cool responses. And these are also kids coming from like different high schools that most people probably never heard of, different charter schools or whatnot.
Awesome. So
this is going to be super
so speaking
interesting.
Of getting some of these kids interested and kind of showing them the product, I know practices are never open, but will the Futures League games be open to spectators? The 7v7 intra-league games?
That's a great question. I don't know if we've gotten that far down the road in terms of defining if it's going to be open to the public.
It feels like something that even if it's like invite only, it'd be a great tool to get the younger kids excited, right? Whether they're about to age in to Future League, to being able to join Future League soon, or whether they're already of that age and you want to try to show off the product to get them interested. Like, feels like an awesome opportunity to show the level of competition that exists.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm going to have to take that note down. One of the things we have talked about is opening it up, at a minimum to, colleges and other scouts so Minneapolis City has great relationships with so many different colleges and universities and other clubs across the country. And we've absolutely talked about giving those people access and letting them see the Futures games play out so they can take a look at some of these players. So it ends up being a recruiting opportunity, not only for coaches, but a visibility opportunity for many of the players who play at some of these, either they don't play club or they play at a charter school, and they normally wouldn't have the opportunity to showcase their skills in front of some of these folks.
Okay.
So
I'm getting some communication from John. It sounds like he can hear us, but he can't connect for some reason in order to speak. So it's just you and me from here on out. But that also means that eventually the Ask John Anything won't be able to happen, and it's probably the most dangerous Ask John Anything guest he's ever had. So I feel like this is a little bit of a cop out.
Yeah, I think it might be.
But we can keep going. So Minneapolis City is in a unique position since the club started in 2016 because we've always filled our team with Minnesota-based players, right? And we've shown success with it over the years. Do you feel like the creation of this feeder program will further strengthen the first team moving forward, Minneapolis City of the NPSL, or are we going to run into a point where we're going to do such a great job of bringing in quality players and the talents, top talents in the league together, that those are also going to be they're also going to leave for I would say not necessarily greener pastures, but other more higher level soccer before we even get a sniff at them for the first team.
Yeah. So I'm cautiously optimistic that we're going to be able to do a great job with this. It's been so well received. The concept has to date. Now it's our job to execute.
Yep.
And I'm confident we've done our due diligence on it, and Minneapolis City has a long track record of executing well. So once we get past that, are we going to be able to create players for the first team? Very confident. Whether those players on the first team begin to age out, or there's just a really, really special player that deserves an opportunity, that's absolutely going to happen. I'm very confident in that. The other part of that is that you mentioned is, are we going to be developing players for other clubs, whether those are NPSL clubs or,
USL
somebody
clubs,
else?
I guess that's kind of the dream scenario, right? Like, holy shit, all of a sudden Minneapolis City not only feeds some of the best players in Minnesota to our team, but now they're going to USL, they're going to Des Moines, they're going wherever.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a stated goal from the leaders of this club that they want to win a national championship with only Minnesota-based players. And to accomplish that, we need to continually improve Minnesota soccer. So we understand that means all players, regardless of where they're going to end up, whether that's, they're going to take off and be able to play an MLS or overseas, but it might be other NPSL clubs, it might be other UPSL clubs, it might be, some other acronym by the time they get to that point. But a rising tide is going to lift all boats. So we need to make Minnesota soccer better, and this is one of the steps that we can take to do that. So we're not competing with anybody else. We're not competing with any other clubs. We're trying to create an environment that is going to, help players get to the next level. And we're here to help fill that gap because, quite frankly, the Federation has not done a good enough job to create that roadmap for players or create that roadmap for teams. So, the only thing that we can do is help those players try to get to the next level, whether that be a first team NPSL club or beyond that, whether it's USL or MLS or beyond. So that would be, another one of those dream scenarios is a kid from the Futures program that, didn't get an opportunity because he was overlooked financially or at a charter school or whatnot. And, he gets a look and ends up playing, in one of the big 5 leagues in Europe or something like that. That would be the dream scenario.
So Jeremiah, how has the soccer coaching and youth development community reacted to this announcement? And maybe without naming any names, are there coaches out there that and youth programs out there who've gotten really excited to collaborate? Are there any haters? Or maybe are there any programs that are a little behind the times that you leave the meeting and they're just kind of scratching their head, like trying to figure out what planet you're from?
Yeah, so I was expecting there to be some haters, thinking that we were trying to be competitive with youth clubs or trying to steal players or whatnot. But, when we've been able to demonstrate that this is a supplementary program, that we are there as an option for players who are already playing club or already playing high school, that the Futures is just another piece,
Sure.
then it's been very, very well accepted. Like I said, I was expecting to get a lot of haters, but the response has actually been very, very good. Most of these coaches, across the Twin Cities, and there's a lot of great coaches across the Twin Cities, and they're doing a tremendous job. But they understand that some of these kids need an environment that's going to continue to push them to the next level. And that's one of the cool things about Minneapolis City is we're able to help create that environment that at the youth level that it just might not be there.
Sure.
So yeah,
awesome.
I mean, to answer your question, is there haters or is it well accepted? It's to this point, it's been very, very well accepted. Said we have to go out and execute now. We've got a great concept. Now we got to go out and execute and improve the
you
model.
might have heard from the coughing in the background. John is back.
I'm back, folks.
He found a way to reconnect. So the Ask John Anything is on, but we do have a couple questions beforehand.
Awesome. I just need to drop in that haters are going to hate no matter what, Nate. I mean,
that's true.
It doesn't matter what you do. That's great. Either it's going to be duplicated, and that's the biggest form of flattery, where someone will take this model and try to do it their own way. But you also have the people who will just shit on an idea because they can shit on an idea.
Are you reading my question?
No, but go ahead. Speaking
of people stealing the model, to my ears, this is a very clear and well thought out and I guess tight plan that a certain other now defunct youth academy vaguely described as what their maybe next step would be, or their next life would be, when they said they want to, quote, work closely with soccer leaders in Minnesota to build toward what we want to do and have a plan that allows us to collaborate with every single soccer club in the cities. You might know that now defunct youth academy. They're very famous. Are you worried at all that somebody bigger is going to see this model and steal it and monetize it?
So I think you've kind of alluded to two different kind of questions there. So is that well-known club, are they going to steal the idea, or is somebody else maybe outside of Minnesota going to take the idea and run with it? I hope somebody outside Minneapolis or Minnesota looks at this idea and we're able to execute. And we've already had people reach out to us and say, can we talk to you about this? Because we might want to do something similar. And number one, I want to execute on it first before we start telling other people what they should be doing.
It's got to work first.
Right now it's just on paper.
It's not rocket science, the different components that are there, but they work in tandem, and they have to work in tandem to create the financial model to work at the level that's going to fit the mission of the club, and not, have a $10,000 academy. We're looking at, trying to have a, minimize pay to play as much as possible, and a program cost at under $900 per player, and try to have as many scholarshiped players in that program as possible, starting with a minimum of 20% of the players on scholarship. So, we need all those components in order to make the financial model work in that regard. Now, the other big clubs in regards to how they want to work with other area clubs in terms of collaboration, in my experience, in looking at the single entity that is MLS, they don't care. They don't care about us. And to be honest, we started this passion project long before the Development Academy decided that they were going to close up shop, and then Minnesota United deciding that they were going to shut down their academy. So we're focused on what we're going to do, And I don't think that that's their model. I think their model is pulling in affiliate clubs from across the state, allowing them to slap a logo on their website, and then siphon kids into their program that they can eventually
Yep.
maybe make
They're
money
looking at
off of transfer
they're looking at
fees, or
Alfonso Davies and wondering how they can find the next one of those.
Yep. And I wish our structure was a little bit different, because then every club in our system would be looking to do the same thing. But right now we've got the forced scarcity that is MLS, and they've got the carrot that's hanging out there. But just to circle around to answer your question, I don't think that there's not an MLS academy that cares about what an NPSL team is going to do. So we're going to do it at the grassroots level. We're going to do it well, and hopefully we're going to do it well enough that other like-minded clubs can maybe take our model and even take it to another level.
So John's
that we haven't even
probably
thought
losing
about.
patience, but I got one more question before I hand it to him. I'm an advertising guy. John's an advertising guy. Hodeman's an advertising guy. I think you're a marketing guy as well. And awareness of Minneapolis City is one of your stated problems, your number 4 stated problem that you think Futures can solve. We're already seeing awareness getting chiseled away at with the team rollout, right? The Northeast Wanderers, the kit involved with it. Like there's opportunities for way more merch, social media buzz, all this stuff around the team in a time when nothing is happening on the field. And that's got to be pretty exciting from a marketing standpoint. It definitely is exciting from a marketing standpoint. It's almost as if the team is run by marketing and advertising guys, if I didn't tell you that. So what do you, I guess the question is, what do you hope that the buzz around this program helps to accomplish for the Futures and for the club at large? Because buzz is great. Merch sales are great. Obviously they'll put some money to the bottom line and be able to stay out of the red. But is there anything beyond that you're hoping this attention is gonna get you guys?
Like-minded fans, like-minded players who kind of fit the whole philosophy of the club. All the cool stuff that Minneapolis City is able to do from a branding perspective, that just makes the experience better for a player. I look back to my time as a player. How cool would it have been to be able to play for a club like Minneapolis City? And then how cool would it have been to be able to play for your youth club and play for your high school, and then go feature for the Minneapolis City Futures and wear a kit that's designed by some of the best kit designers in the world, and represent the Northeast Minneapolis neighborhood. I just think that would have been so cool as a player. So all this awareness and all this buzz, I hope it inspires players and gives them goosebumps to the point where I want to be a part of something like this, because it's cool and it's fun, and the game is supposed to be
cool.
Fun. And
it's cool.
It is cool. As adults, we rip the fun out of it too much. We tell players how much they can play, when they can play, what all the rules are. It's just like, let it go, and let's just have some bleeping fun with this thing.
I saw that Twitter post with the mural with the 4 holes in it, waiting for logos for the Future squad logos. And that's when I'm just like, oh man, this is going to be way bigger than I expected. Like, this is going to be way cooler than I expected. I thought it would just be like some training kits, some Ride training kits. No offense to Ride, our team sponsor. But you know what I mean? Like, this is going to be something where you can start to express the identity of a neighborhood in a squad of youngsters. That's awesome.
Nate, what's our number? What's our like one of our top phrases that we use? Nothing's worth doing unless you're overdoing it.
You gotta overdo it. And I as much as I always love to hear it, I always forget what that really means.
And now you're seeing it come to fruition. Especially
when you got a team in a COVID environment that has nothing to do.
Right, exactly. So
awesome.
So I'll bring it home here, and you've kind of sprinkled this throughout while I was listening and not being able to talk, which I'm sure a lot of people in my environment wish I couldn't talk. So final question: 1, 3, 5 years down the road, however you want to slice it. What in your opinion will indicate success for the Futures program?
That player that we're actually taking players that are able to make a jump to another level. That another level might be Minneapolis City 2. It might be Minneapolis City 2 to the first team within Minneapolis City, the NPSL team. It might be players that are able to take it beyond that, whether those players are going to play for a USL championship team or follow in the footsteps of Luke Hawkinson or Brandon By and able to get, 4,000 minutes in the MLS, or those players who are able to take their dreams even further and, play overseas. And we've had a few players within Minneapolis City who've actually, been able to follow their dreams and get some looks overseas as well. So 4 or 5 years down the line, it's all about, are these players going to be able to take it to the next level? But then as a coach,
I love that
it's subjective.
I love that it's subjective to whatever the next level means for that player.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, as a coach, it's like you want to see these kids grow as people and just turn into good people as well. So, what's going to happen to them? It might be, they might be in software, right? You just don't know where they're going to be. But during their time here, you want them to make as many magical memories as possible. And how do you make magical memories? You make magical memories by developing relationships with other people and doing something remarkable together.
Things. I was going to say destroying your enemies.
No, that's the same thing. That's the same thing. That's doing something remarkable together. That might be destroying your enemies. That might be winning a trophy. But those are the memories that you're going to take with you to 20 years down the road when these guys are all buddies and sitting around a pool in Vegas and talking about how they won a trophy, with Minneapolis City, or sitting with their grandkids, telling them about their magical memories of playing with this, crazy cool soccer club that was, based out of Minneapolis. So it's building those magical memories as well as, helping these kids realize and fulfill their dreams of trying to take it to yet an even higher level.
For me, almost every season we've had some sort of youngster play, and you mentioned it earlier on. We've kind of had this model, from a success standpoint throughout our years. But I remember the first opportunity when we went down to Milwaukee and we played, and talking with a couple of the guys that were, college freshmen, or soon to be college freshmen, after the game, and saying, how was it? And they were like, it was fucking awesome, man. And then seeing some guys get their first call up from the 23s and playing in a first team match and asking them, how was it? You played great. And it was like, oh, it was, I couldn't even have anticipated or expected how great that was. That's what I'm looking for this next generation of players. Because it's that look in their eyes where they're like, they realize that they belong, but they didn't know they belonged until someone gave them the opportunity. And that for me is what I think success will be.
Sure. That's beautiful.
Yeah. You gotta end it on a good note, right?
Yeah. So, Jeremiah, you're an avid listener. You understand the show. It is now time to play the game that we like to call Ask John Anything. And you know how it goes. You got to ask John 2 questions. And the only rule is that he has to answer 2 questions truthfully. But that means that he can also lie in one of those questions, or plead the fifth, I should say. So if he pleads
no lies here, Nate.
If he pleads the fifth, that's right. If he pleads the fifth in any question, his first one or his second one, he'll have to answer your next one 100% truthfully. Hopefully you've been training for this your entire podcast listening life. So you're ready to ask John anything.
My allergies are almost to the uncontrollable point, so I'll do my best here.
All right. So this isn't one of my questions, but you
No,
don't have
this
the
is
Rona.
straight
Just
up
wanna make sure.
allergies. Our road was getting torn up for 2 weeks and out in front of our house, and you could open up our front door, and then when the sun would shine on it and see a cloud, and it's just I have a dust allergy, and it's no joke right now. But no, not the Rona. It's a post nasal drip, I guess you could call it.
Okay. All right. So I've been thinking about this question a little bit today, and I thought I could go like down some really nasty paths with it, and I don't know if I'm gonna do that. I don't know if I want to do that to you. I want to make sure that we stay married.
Well, Max Stiegler tried to break that up, but I was able to at least skirt that one.
So here we go. So, mythical scenario. Your hero, Paul Scholes, calls you up one day. He's representing Manchester United. He's got word that you've got a crazy Manchester United tattoo. And he strikes up a conversation with you, and he gives you an opportunity to send one current Minneapolis City player over to Manchester United to represent the club on a trial. And if it goes well, that trial will result in $1 million transfer fee payable to Minneapolis City Soccer Club. So that's the scenario. Which current Minneapolis City player do you send to give us the best opportunity to get that $1 million?
It's simple. It's simple because and I've had this conversation, not the Manchester United conversation, but I've had the conversation about like what player have we had in our system that would translate well outside of the U.S. because I don't think the U.S. game right now is tailored to their skill sets, and that's Ian Smith. So me being a number 6, Paul Scholes being a number 6, Ian Smith being a number 6. Ian isn't he went to UW Green Bay, had a fantastic career. He was the guy who, when he played with Minneapolis City, he had a fantastic career as the guy who you never really saw, on the stream of the game or when you're watching the game live, do anything spectacular. But you notice when they weren't there. And to me, that's the type of player that translates well into the game outside the U.S. because he's not your 6'3", defensive center midfielder from Ohio State who's just going to pound you. He's a thinker, and he's the type of player that I think would succeed over there and might get, at some point in that environment, might elevate himself up to getting some first team minutes and justifying that $1 million transfer. But I think that he's probably the most ready to go on a trial like that and has the mindset that he can make it. And I think that's what you need. Excuse me. I'm going to text him after this goes live and tell him timestamp it.
So, I mean, that was kind of, I don't know if it was a little bit of a softball. You still had to call out and identify one current player, and all of those other people that you didn't identify are going to be mad.
Yeah, they all suck.
In them, so yeah. So here's my second one. Fast forward, whether it's a week from now because you died because of your cough, or many years down the road, and you have to hang up your boots, so to speak, in terms of your podcast role, your role in the booth, your role as a sporting director. Who do you nominate to fill your role?
Well, which role?
Why?
So I have all of my
roles.
All of them
in Minneapolis City after you disappear.
It's easy. I've been grooming this person for the last 3 seasons, and that's the current president of Stegman's, Mr. Daniel Warner. I mean, it's only a logical step because he's stepped in and taken over, what we created with Stegman's. And when I was speaking with Dan about that that time split that we needed to have where Minneapolis City was going on a trajectory that we didn't necessarily foresee it going on when we started it, to the point where we had to diversify and not be the only people doing things all the time. And like JJ, you can speak for it too. Like we have a full coaching staff now. In the first couple of years, we barely held together, a head coach and an assistant coach. And now we have what
I was thinking about that today. Like there are coaches I don't think I've ever seen, Jeremiah being one of them.
And I mean, we have a full support staff. I've been on, I go on the management calls, and well, to date right now, I think there's 8 front office people that are doing multiple things. And then there's 7 or 8 or 9 coaches. And 10 if you throw me in there. So when we were looking at that trajectory that we're going to have to split things off, we were looking through the next generation of people at Stegman's, and Warner was the guy. And if you meet him, he's responsible. He's a funny guy. He can handle responsibility and pressure. And he'd have to refine some of his interpersonal communication skills to be on the podcast and to call a game. But that's all things you can learn in broadcast school. So he would be my choice.
His frequent line of just like the player possesses really does make the broadcast. But remember when he filled in for us, him and the other guy?
yeah. He already filled in, so he's already. The hard part is just doing it one time, right, Nate?
Yep.
You've done it before.
Just jumping in.
So he'd be my guy.
Yeah, well, maybe you get his feet wet by bringing him into an esports broadcast and see if he's got the tools to.
Not a bad idea.
Help that thing move along.
It seems like we're using this future use case model, and maybe when we boot it up, he can call a 7-a-side game with me and see what he's got.
Yeah, or a
exactly.
futures friendly match.
Well, yeah, we have many opportunities for an intern like Dan Warner.
An intern.
There you go.
Awesome. I love Dan.
Good. Two softies, but good questions. Well thought out.
You don't have to always go for the bullets.
Save John from himself.
Just good content.
Right. And I can answer both, and my sinus drip is not going to kill me. I know.
Yeah, you're under enough stress as it is.
Well, JJ, thank you so much for being with us this week. We are really pleased that we're finally at that point 2 years after the decision to bring in a program underneath City 2 into the fold. And we're really excited that this will, kind of continue to take shape over the next few months, and all the hard work you've kind of put into this is definitely noted. And I think it's going to be a fantastic program, and I can't wait to hitch my wagon to it and say that it was all my idea at some point.
that would be completely fine. And thank you to you. Thank you to Adam and Matt and Dan and everybody who has actually been receptive to what this crazy concept was. And if I brought this to any other club, they would tell me to hit the road. But you guys are like,
keys.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's take it a step further. Yeah, exactly. So I'm super excited
like
about it and see where we
You're
can
the
take
guy
this.
who asked if you could come along late in the day, and we're like, yep, here's the keys, you're driving.
Yeah, I know. There's a couple times during this process where I'm like, oh no, what did I get myself into? But it's still
awesome,
exciting.
Man. Thanks so much for being on with us.
See you, Jeremiah.
All right. See ya.
All right. Take care, guys. Thank you. Bye.
That is all for this week's show. Thank you, as always, to the sponsor, Summit Brewing Company. We are swass deep into summertime, and what better way to beat the heat than with a can of ice cold beer? The pals at Summit have something for all types of taste buds. It's going to pair well with whatever situation you've gotten yourself into this summer, whether you are heading to the lake or you're building a bush like I did a couple weeks ago. Get to the stores today and fill your fridge up with some goodness. Summit, a more meaningful brew since 1986. If you're giving to a club or giving back to the community means a lot to you, maybe it's time to give to the club that gives back. Minneapolis City is a 501c3 that provides a safe, reliable, and fun environment for young people to play the beautiful game, as well as our newly formed Futures Program Scholarship Fund. Consider a tax-deductible donation to a true city-focused organization. So many great places for a donation to go into this club. So many great aspects. You can't help but give and feel good about it. Do you have anything else you want us to cover? Any quests that you want us to go on? Send us mail. It's easy. Hit us up on Twitter at The People's Pitch, or you can email at us, okay, sure, at mcscpodcast@gmail.com. But if you got a phone and calling is more your speed and you want to hear your voice live on the show, you can take our show hotline number at 612-460-5683. All questions, comments, and concerns are welcome. And as always, if you want, you can hit the club up at MPLS City SC on Twitter. And that does it for this week. Big thanks to Jeremiah Johnson of the Futures program for joining us. Really impressed with that guy. Really looking forward to see his mad science come to life. I have been Nate. That was Jeremiah Johnson. And of course, that was John. And until next time, friends.
Just up.
Yeah, so here's your future. So here's your future. That is your future. So here's your future. So here's your future. So here's your future. So here's your future.